to the 100 Club. We're here once again to talk you through some of the squad profiles for the forthcoming cricket tournament. That is the 100, starting 21st of July. I'm Tom. Alongside me, once again, the ever-dependable Ollie.
Hello.
And the usually good enough Rich.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm right. I don't mean that. You're looking lovely, by the way. That's a very natty shirt. What have you got on?
This is a unicorn shirt for anybody who can remember what the unicorns were.
I think you might need to enlighten everyone, Rich.
They were essentially a minor counties showcase 11 that competed in the Clydesbank 40 nearly, I think in 2012, 2013. So very niche. I don't know how or why I found this shirt, but it's quite a nice shirt. Thought I'd wear
like
it
a
for the
minor
occasion.
counties Harlem Globetrotters.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
From Truro to Folkestone. Okay. That's not the point of being here, though. So we're going to talk about the Southern Brave again, and in particular, we're going to have a look at the men's squad this time. We've had a quick look at the women's team. They're pretty formidable, I think was our overall conclusion. This side, it's had a few more problems, though, in its formation. So what's it got left? Rich, who's the star player in the remnants of the Southern Brave men's squad?
Well, I suppose I should just touch on the fact that you alluded to it. They're two star players. In fact, the first two players they drafted, David Warner and Marcus Stoinis, both Australians, both withdrawn from the tournament this year. But I wanted to go for their star player, a player who I think is a star, but I also think he has a bit of a point to prove in this tournament, and that's Chris Jordan. He was drafted 6th overall by the team in the 3rd round, and it's odd to think about, but Chris Jordan feels like he's been around a long time, right?
Yeah. And
he started off playing across all formats. He's played 8 test matches for England, but he's now pigeonholed a little bit, I think, as a T20 specialist. And he's still a very important part of the England T20 team. In fact, he's the leading wicket taker in England T20 history with 70 wickets. And only 2 players in the tournament have more international wickets than him. Can you think who that might be?
Rashid Khan.
Well, of course, Rashid Khan.
I'll take the easy one, thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me.
Well,
don't know.
Part of the reason Rashid has so many wickets is that Afghanistan play a lot of T20s, and it's Mohammed Nabi, his compatriot. No. Interesting on that list, one ahead of Jordan is Ish Sodhi, the New Zealand spinner, who's currently playing at Worcester and is not involved in the 100. So, just in case there are any general managers watching, but yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing
in the dress book, just in case. If a few squads have still got gaps, that could be a good player to draft in.
So I've mentioned his career a little bit and the fact he's ended up being a bit of a T20 specialist, and perhaps some cricket fans might be surprised to know that he's the leading wicket taker. Let's think about him as a player a little bit. Why I think he could be a star in this format. He really excels in all 3 formats of the game. In terms of bowling, he's really about the death, the final few overs, which is one of the hardest times for anybody to bowl. You have to get your deliveries absolutely right, otherwise you're going to disappear out of the park. And Jordan's exceptional at bowling Yorkers, wide Yorkers outside off stump, one's tailing on leg stump, and also a wide variety of slow balls. He's always mixing it up, and I think that's what makes him so good at bowling at the death. He's also a very useful lower order batsman. Hits a real long ball, loads of power. But I think one of the other things that I love about him is he is the best fielder that I have ever seen play cricket. And some of the catches that he's pulled off, especially in the outfield, are simply stunning and probably worth 20, 30 runs over the course of a tournament in terms of what he's going to save. The reason why I say I think he has a bit of a point to prove, Tom, is you're aware that he's played a lot of franchise cricket, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's it's synonymous almost with the IPL and how to be a death bowler.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. He's played 5 seasons of IPL. 4.5 if you say this one isn't quite completed yet. Yet he's only sort of played 23 games over that period. And he's sort of a similar story in the Big Bash. He's played 25 games in 4 seasons. So he's making it to these franchise leagues, but he's not necessarily becoming the ever-present linchpin of the sides. So I think that gives him an opportunity in the 100, right? That he can really kind of stamp his authority on the Southern Brave and say that, I am a key player in this side. I'm going to be the star man bowling at the death each week. and I'm going to play all the games and take my team all the way to the final, rather than be sort of that very useful squad member, but not necessarily star of the team as he's been in the IPL.
Yeah, and I mean, he's going to want to prove his point. I get that because of the T20 World Cup coming up. I don't think his place is in danger for the England side, though, is it?
No. Well, he's in the squad for the Sri Lanka game coming up this Wednesday. We're recording this on the 21st of June. But there is so much competition for places in the T20 squad. And one of the things we're excited about in the 100 is that anybody who excels in the 100 is going to put their hand up and say that I should be in that squad too. So he has to perform well if he wants to maintain that place in that squad, because there's going to be so much competition for places.
And he's alongside his best mate.
Absolutely.
Jofra. And you'd think that, they'd want to both make a point. I mean, Jofra, we know he's having his injury problems at the moment, but we don't know quite how involved he's going to get in the 100, it's fair to say. But we know his main aim is the T20 World Cup and then the Ashes immediately after. So if there's any chance of him getting some warm-up, you'd think that this is a great opportunity. So
if you've got both of them on the pitch, then you've got a very formidable death bowling lineup.
Absolutely.
If there's two guys you would think you don't really want to be facing with runs to chase last couple of overs, it's those two.
Yeah, and if you add those two, and then you've got Andre Russell, Dre Russ at the other end with the bat, knocking up the 120 runs that they need or whatever off the 100 balls. That is a route to victory.
Absolutely, but I was going to say, not their only player from that neck of the woods, right, Ollie?
It's true. So you thinking Roy Rollins?
Absolutely, Bermuda's finest.
Bermuda's finest, yeah. So he's. I think he could be a potential star of this side. He kind of feels like he's been around for a while. He's 23, but he first started playing for Bermuda when he was 15, and has had a few seasons of county cricket under his belt now. He kind of has not really sort of hit the heights that I think he's potentially capable of. He sort of averages a little bit more with the ball than he does with the bat. And so I think that kind of this tournament probably represents a chance for him to try and kind of reverse those numbers. And I think one of the criticisms of him is that he tends to perhaps go a little bit too hard too soon, and I think that kind of is seen in his stats for this season in the Blast. I think he's only faced about 9 balls, and
okay.
I think he just likes to try and launch it from ball one.
I think that will suit it in 100.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about how we see the Southern Brave lining up in a moment. Yeah. But I think there's probably a space at the top of the order, and obviously the Southern Brave can look to sign a specialist opener. But if they don't, Rollins would be kind of my tip to go in there and do a bit of pinch hitting and kind of be given a bit of license to just say, right, you've got the power play, just see if you can clear the ropes in the first 25 balls.
Well, the person with that decision in their hands is none other than the coach, Mahela Jayawardene, another superstar name from the world of cricket who's done it all. But he's also got, most recently, some really notable experience in the coaching field with the Mumbai Indians. Coached them since 2017, and I think he's racked up 3 wins out of 4 seasons completed so far. So he knows how to get the best out of a short format team. We're not quite certain, though, I don't think, who his captain is going to be on the field. You'd imagine it might be James Vince, the experienced Hampshire batsman or batter. But we'll see how that plays out. But for Jayawardene, he can bring on some of these younger players like Roy Rollins, certainly, and I think they'll be pretty confident. Although he has lost his assistant, who was going to be Shane Bond, the New Zealand former coach.
The name's Bond. Shane Bond.
Yeah. The Bond's been cashed. So let's have a look at the potential lineups as they stand. Rich, do you want to have a go first? Who's opening up for you?
I think you've just alluded to the man who could be captaining the side. Hampshire's James Vince, one of the local icon players. I wanted to just mention how good James Vince was in the Big Bash this winter just gone. He was playing for the Sydney Sixers, who ended up winning the tournament.
Yeah.
He was the second highest run scorer, actually behind Alex Hales. He's had 537 runs in 16 matches, averaging at just over 38 and striking at 144. So he was a big reason why Sydney Sixers won that tournament.
And you wonder for Vince whether maybe England Test cricket is now slightly gone for him. Maybe this is his future focus. Maybe it's what is going to become his bread and butter.
Yeah, possibly. He's had opportunities. He's always looked good, and he's always been accused of being looking really good and then having bad decision making, and throwing his wicket away. And perhaps that's not so crucial in the shorter formats of the game, where he can just concentrate on his stroke making and less about how long he sticks around for. So I'd back him to do well in this format.
And alongside,
well, I think the loss of Warner is critical here, because I don't see another obvious opener in the squad. Although I do like Ollie's idea of maybe going for that pinch hitting role, but I think there is still time for them to draft in another player, potentially an overseas player. And there's a few guys knocking around in the T20 Blast who could fit the bill. Finn Allen, who's playing the young Kiwi batsman up at Lancashire, or potentially Travis Head, who's over at Sussex. Both could come in and sort of fill that role as an opener for me.
And let's be clear, they've got 13 players in the squad right now, so there are 3 holes that need to be filled for the Southern Brave.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you a gap for now, on the promise of something else. Who else have you got up at the top?
So I'd bat Alex Davies at 3, the Lancashire wicketkeeper. He went up to Lancashire and thought he might be an understudy to Butler, and then obviously Joss Butler's been away with England for the last few years, and Davies has had a lot of opportunity to play. And this year in the Blast, even though Butler's available and keeping wicket, Davies has kept his place as a specialist batsman. He had 83 not out the other night. He hasn't gone so well otherwise. I think he's got 11 runs in his other 4 innings. But he's batting. He's opened in the Championship before, bats 3 in the T20. So I could see him sliding in and batting 3 for the Brave.
Yeah.
I have Worcestershire's Ross Whiteley coming in at 4.
Exciting player.
Very exciting, big hitting Yorkshireman. Hit 6 sixes in an over a few years back off David Willey. I think his game is ideally suited to this format. He's going to be looking to clear the fences early.
Looks good at 4. Okay, 5.
5. Again, I have a gap. I thought that was going to be the role played by Marcus Stoinis, the Australian all-rounder. Again, I think I have a replacement lined up. You have the Kiwi, Jimmy Neesham at Essex. And as you point out, Tom, he played for Mahela at Mumbai Indians this year, and I think that's could be a strong shout for coming into doing that role. Okay,
so Vince, gap, Davis, Whiteley, gap. Ollie, what are the alternatives if they can't pull someone in?
Well, I find it quite funny that Richard's got a gap at 5, because when I looked down this batting lineup, it looked like a dressing room that were all itching to bat at 5. Because I think Whiteley's batted there before. Davis has batted there on some occasion, I think, when Butler's been available. I think
Can I suggest
batted there at times. So I think it felt like everyone was queuing up to bat at 5. But 2, 3, and 4 were a bit sketchy.
I think Dre Russ in at 5 looks pretty much a natural fit to me.
Yeah, I think I'll give you that.
Okay.
He's played a couple of games. He's shown what he can do.
Yeah.
But that is a fair point as well. He's not actually joining the tournament until a few games in, because of current commitments in the West Indies. So there does still need to be someone else in there at some point. But
so what you're really saying, Tom, is it's actually another gap. Right. As I said earlier, in the absence of as yet unsigned players, I'd have had Rollins in as a pinch hitter. My next choice, though, would be George Garton. So I think
is that in at 6?
Yeah, I'd put him in at 6. He's had a couple of good innings recently, and he's been bowling very well, which I think has earned him his England call up. But he's also had a couple of pretty good knocks. He made 46 off 25 balls the other day, and I think if you've got, possibly if you've managed to fill the space with a proper opener, should we say, and not a pinch hitter, then he might be a good choice to have some lower order runs. So I've got Garton, then Jordan, then Jofra.
And bless him, I'm going to put Jofra in as a bowler rather than in the middle there, because for all his flattery to deceive, the batting can sometimes work, but quite a lot of the time it doesn't.
Yeah. And should we finish my lineup? And then Rich, I think you've got some different views. So I'm putting in the spin twins of Briggs and Waller.
Okay.
I'm having Mills bringing up the rear at number 11.
No place for Craig Overton. Okay. What have you got, Rich? Counter that.
Well, Ollie is a tough selector because you can be in the England World Cup one-day squad. You can be in both the England T20 and one-day squads, but you're not getting into Ollie's team. But you're getting into mine. So Liam Dawson comes in at 6, and it's all very well getting a few runs. We're going to bring him in ahead of instead of Danny Briggs, I think. Let me just talk you through the argument. I think we need a little bit more batting, and I think Dawson is a much better batsman than Briggs. I think Briggs is very much a specialist bowler. I saw an amazing innings Dawson played for Peshawar in the Pakistan Super League last year, where he smashed 50 off about 30 balls in a run chase, really high pressure environment. And I think he's very underrated as a batsman. I'll grant you, he is not as good a bowler as Danny Briggs, but I think he's more than competent enough to do that role. And then otherwise, I think I would keep this the same as how Ollie has it. With Jofra, we're not sure whether he's going to make it or not. I think that if he doesn't, they might need to look into additional fast bowling. Craig Overton is sort of a different type of bowler to Jofra. Jofra's only 6 foot. Craig Overton's 6'5". Tends to sort of hit the pitch a bit more suited to red ball cricket, in my opinion. He goes over 9s in T20, which is quite expensive. So I think that's where they'd have to look into. But otherwise, and then that other question would be for a second spinner, is it Max Waller or Danny Briggs? I like the variety of having a slow left armer in Dawson than having a right-handed leg spinner in Waller.
Yeah. So Waller's not had the best seasons.
Yeah, that was my thinking too. I know Waller's, I think, has gone around the park a little bit, but I like the idea of being able to have a leg spinner in for variety. And there's if Rollins is playing, we've got another left arm spinning option. So, but my reason for picking Briggs over Dawson is it's quite specific. But in the 100, I think we've talked about in some of the early videos, the power play is shortened down to 25 balls. So batsmen are going to be really looking to try and capitalise on that power play. I think defending the power play is therefore going to be very difficult. So the best way to defend in the power play is to take wickets. And Danny Briggs, certainly this season, has tended to be bowling the first over. And his record of doing that is phenomenal, because what he always does, he always takes a wicket. So when Warwickshire played Leicestershire, took a wicket in the first over. Josh Inglis. When they played Northants, same story. Adam Rossington. When they played Notts, Alex.
Let me guess, he took a wicket.
Yeah. Right. So he's got a bit of he's got a speciality, which is to bowl the first over and take a wicket. Dawson has tried this once this season when they played Middlesex. Didn't take a wicket. Went for 19. So Briggs is getting my vote to bowl the first over.
Okay.
I think there's bias to that. I don't think the sample size is big enough to conclude
it's called form. It's called form.
It's been sent upstairs to the video umpire.
I would say.
I am going to say.
Let me say this to finish with. Briggs was phenomenal in the Big Bash as well for the Adelaide Strikers. He had a very good season there. I think you have to look at this in terms of they will bring in reinforcements in those key positions where the overseas players were missing. So I think that will probably put the pressure under that opening spot, and then there's a spot in the middle order. So then I think you're looking at and just an all-rounder. Who misses out? Will it be Dawson? Will it be Garton? Garton probably backs up Archer, because you want that other fast bowling option if Archer's unfit, and then if Dre Russ isn't there for the early part.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, Liam Dawson's a shoe-in England squads. He's got to be playing for the Brave.
I'm happy with Dawson. He's going in for now, but I think both him and Rollins are where the Southern Brave are going to be shopping over the next couple of weeks. So for me,
It kind of depends who they manage to sign. How do you then balance the side?
It does, and whether Jofra can play, whether Dre Russell is able to commit all of his time, or as much of his time as we hope, to the competition. But there are some holes there. This is not looking like, at the moment, the obvious winner of the tournament, I'm afraid to say. Challenge me, if you will, in the comments section. So, Vince, Rollins, Davis, Whiteley, Russell, Dawson, Garton, Jordan, Archer, Waller, Mills. 3 gaps to fill. Southern Brave, men's squad. That's our take on it. Please do let us know what you think. Give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe. Have you got any other sort of feelings about the Southern Brave that you wish to expose to the world?
I quite like the kit.
Yeah.
I like the it's that Caribbean influence. Dre Russ being a proud Jamaican gets to wear the green, black, and yellow.
Yeah.
Pom Bears, as any father of young children will tell you, often have a cupboard stacked full of Pom Bears. They don't really taste of anything, but they're fairly inoffensive. And we'll go with the last can of lager at midnight on a Friday.
I'll also add that I think the Aegeus Bowl is a fantastic venue. That's a great one to go and get a game. I noticed on the website actually quite a few of the games now sold out. So if you haven't had a chance to have a look, go and check out that on the 100 website. You can buy some tickets. I recommend you do so. They're £10 an adult and £5 for the youngsters.
Who's their first game, Tom?
That first game is against Trent Rockets, actually in Trent Bridge. That's on the 25th of July. That's a double header with a women's game. Men's starts at 14:30, I think. So that's a big day, Joe Root hosting the first Saturday of the 100. So all power to their elbow, especially Jofra's elbow. We need that fit and firing.
Yeah,
come the World Cup.
Perhaps find someone else to clean out your fish tank, Joff.
Yeah, absolutely. But for us, I think that concludes our business with the Southern Brave. Next up will, in fact, be their first opponents, the Trent Rockets, I believe. So please do rejoin us here at the 100 Club. We'll go through the Trent Rockets. Thank you very much.
Cheers.